In today's Tutorial Tuesday video, I'm going to be talking about hooks and tension. I got some questions regarding this matter, and I thought I would just kind of go over these things with you today. Now, what you see before you is a set of just standard crochet hooks that you can find in any store, Walmart, fabric stores, yarn stores, and they're pretty inexpensive. I have a set that ranges from a size D, which is this little bitty one, up to a size N, which is this fat one. I do have a couple missing. This is a K, so L and M I don't have. And they do go smaller than a D, and that would be for really fine lace work and tatting and things like that, which I never do that kind of crochet, so I don't have those hooks. Now Olivia, who does finer work and little tiny projects, I don't know if she has any of those really small hooks or not, but she definitely would use them more than I do. Now, one of the questions that I was asked is, what is a good size hook for practice? And I would say that either a G, this is a G, I can't really get it to focus in on the letter very well, but that is a size G, or a size H. And you can always find the sizes on the shaft of the crochet hook, and they'll have a letter and then a corresponding number. This is an H, and it's a 5mm hook. And so these are two really good sizes to practice with. I would probably, as a beginner, I would probably go with the H, because it is a little bigger, and the bigger the hook, the bigger the stitch will be. And when you're starting out, you want your stitches to be big so that you can see what you're doing. So that is what standard metal hooks look like. Now you can also get hooks in other materials, made out of other materials. I have these hooks, which are made out of bamboo, and I have an entire set of them. I ordered these off of Amazon, I believe. They were very inexpensive. They came out of China, I think, so it did take a while, or Hong Kong. It took a while for them to get to me, but these are super long hooks. I don't know if you can really tell. Let me compare two of my hooks here. So these are both size I hooks, 5.5mm. And as you can see, the diameter of the shaft is exactly the same, but the length of this one is at least 2.5 times as long. And it has this knob on the end. Now what these really long crochet hooks are for mainly is for the Tunisian stitch, which I will be showing you that stitch in a later lesson. I really enjoy the Tunisian stitch. It's very reminiscent of knitting, but not exactly, and you'll see that when I give you that lesson. But when you do the Tunisian stitch, you need a long hook that has a knob or some kind of a stopper on the end. If you do happen to have a really long hook that is missing the stopper on the end, you can take a piece of an eraser and stick it on there, and that will work for the same purpose. And then the other crochet hooks that I have, and I only have a couple of them, are these. I got these at Walmart, and this is in a size H, and this is a G. G and H hooks are probably among the most used size. A lot of patterns call for the G and H size hook, and the difference is, like, the millimeter size is the shaft size up here at the top. So it's the same as a standard G or H hook. The difference is it's got this cushiony handle, and this is good if you have arthritic hands or if you have joint pain in your fingers. These are the cozy, I can't remember what they're called, cozy comfort hooks or something like that. And I only have a couple sizes, but eventually I would like to get all of them that they have available because they are nice and they are comfortable. Another question I received was, how do I handle the tension issue? And basically tension is how tightly you are crocheting. The tighter your stitches, the smaller your work is going to be. The looser the stitches, the bigger your work is going to be. And basically the tension issue really resolves itself with practice and how you hold your yarn. Now, I will admit that it took me a lot of years to get used to holding my yarn the proper way. When I was first learning how, I could not figure out how to do this with the yarn and make the tension proper. And everybody holds their yarn in a different way. When I first started crocheting, I held my yarn like this because I could not get comfortable with it wrapped around my fingers. But over time and with practice, I have learned, and this is how I hold my yarn. And what it does when you hold your yarn this way is that you can learn how to keep the same amount of tension on your work throughout the whole project. Because if you start your project out really, really tight, and as you work through the project, you loosen up your grip and your stitches get looser, then your project is going to turn out fat on one end, skinny on the other. If you're making a garment, the garment will not fit properly. If you're making an afghan, one end of your afghan is going to be skinny. I mean, it'll be shaped like a V. And I've made all of those mistakes, believe me. I'm still not a good garment maker, mainly because of the tension issue. But in your pattern, and even with simple things like a scarf or an afghan where tension isn't quite as important, they will sometimes ask you to crochet a practice swatch. And they will tell you how many stitches or how many stitches to cast on, how many rows to do in the pattern stitch, because a lot of patterns aren't just single crochet. There's multiple different stitches in the pattern, within the pattern. And then they'll say once you're all done with your swatch and you measure it, it should equal so many inches. If once you get your practice swatch crocheted and it is shorter, if it's supposed to be, let's say, 4 inches long and it's only 3 inches long, then you know that you are crocheting tight. And in that case, if you can't train your fingers to loosen up, what you'll want to do is, if the pattern calls for a G hook, you will want to go up to an H hook. You'll want to go up to a size larger hook, and that will accommodate your tension problem. But before you start your project, you will want to crochet another practice swatch with the size larger hook and measure it again. And if it's still not big enough, then you'll want to even go up another hook. And you'll want to continue making practice swatches until your swatch measures as close as possible to what it should. Now, if your practice swatch is way bigger, let's say it's 5 inches instead of 4, that means your tension is very loose, and you will want to go down a hook size and practice again. And then if it's still too big, go down another hook size, and you just keep practicing. After time, for things like a scarf or an afghan, unless it's an incredibly intricate pattern, you won't have to do the practice swatches. I very, very rarely do a practice swatch anymore. I'm not saying that's what you should do, but that's just what I do because I'm impatient and I want to get started on my project. But if you want your project to turn out right, then definitely do the practice swatches and practice holding your yarn in a way that you can keep the tension, the correct tension for your project. So that is my lesson for today on hooks and tension. I hope it was helpful for you. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask them in the comment section below, and I will try to address them in future videos. Thanks so much for watching, friends, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.